I wasn't really, of course, I was just young and didn't know, but I was like, okay, well, I saw this, and then my body started reacting, and my little guy started, getting a little bigger, and so I was like, oh, this is very odd, right? But I didn't know, so I'm just like, oh, what is this I'm feeling? Then I just turned it off, and like I got kind of spooked about it.
The following podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, medical, or any type of professional advice. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, laws and regulations surrounding sexuality, relationships, and consent can vary by location and are subject to change. If you have specific legal or medical concerns, we strongly recommend consulting with a licensed professional in your jurisdiction. Listener discretion is advised, as this podcast may discuss adult themes and sensitive topics. By continuing to listen, you confirm that you are 18 years or older. Welcome to the Siren of Freedom podcast, sounding the alarm by bringing clarity and freedom to the realm of sexuality. Our aim is to give others a place to share their stories and release themselves from the weight of shame and guilt. Hello, everyone. It's another night, another week in the Siren of Freedom podcast. And usually we have ladies on, but tonight we get to hear from a wonderful gentleman who goes by BlackBerry. Say hello to the folks.
Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be on the podcast. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And we did a more in-depth interview with him at an event that we met him at, but we want to do some things just on the lighter side. As you know, Patreon side of the Siren of Freedom, you get all the juicy details, but on this side, we'll just give you a little taste and let's get to know BlackBerry. So take us, we've heard your story in that more in-depth interview, but for the folks just tuning in, fill us in on, your upbringing, your family dynamic, mom, dad, siblings, as much as you want to share, and we'll get into your journey of sexuality.
Yeah, sure. As far as upbringing, parents, mom and dad, I have an older brother and a younger sister, about 2 years apart from each other. Yeah, I was mainly raised in, I guess I was born in Alabama. I moved there when I was 3, moved to Richmond, Virginia, stayed there for about 9 years, and I came back to Alabama. Pretty much both times my dad had job transfers. And then when I moved back to Alabama, I pretty much stayed there until college, and then got a job, and then moved to Tennessee. And then from Tennessee, I moved to Atlanta, which is where I'm at currently. As far as upbringing, as far as like sexual upbringing,
well, was your family religious? Like, what was
yeah,
the talk? Was there any talking about sexuality in your home?
So yeah, my parents were very they were kind of hush with, they were very private with their intimacy. They hugged and they kissed, but as far as they didn't do much PDA or anything like that. They were very private about their business. So as far as like knowing about sex, I was pretty much oblivious. I wasn't really sheltered. It just wasn't discussed a lot. So I had little knowledge, very little knowledge compared to what I know now. As far as like religion, we were raised Baptist. My mom went to church a lot. She still goes. My dad's, he doesn't really go to church as much, but he's labeled as a Christian or Baptist, and so that's pretty much. So, long story short, yes, sex wasn't really. It wasn't like sex wasn't really shunned it just wasn't discussed. So the knowledge of everything sex related, I was very oblivious to at an early age.
So, was there anything? Did you go to church with your mom then growing up? Was there anything in
I
church that they talked about for or against sex?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I went to church pretty much on Sundays, the regular service. Um, as far as church, um, yeah, church when they talked about it, right, it was very, um, you know, they talked about it, but when they talked about it, it was in a, the kind of like deceit, not a deceitful way, but a sinful way, waiting for marriage and being with one partner, things like that. And it's kind of interesting because there were some women in there that, um, they came in there, and then all of a sudden they came back a few months later and someone was pregnant. And so
Mm,
I'm thinking, okay, what happened here? Not to know him personally, so I don't know. Could
right.
be
The abstinence
a
program wasn't
boyfriend, a
really
husband.
working,
I
you
don't
know?
know. Yeah, I don't know. Like, dang, like just people just popping babies. I don't know. What's religion is really religion and up in here. Um, so, but yeah, so church, so church really didn't give me. Um, there wasn't a lot of pushback. It just when we talked about it, it was kind of shunned against unless it was like from a religious standpoint, as in being one partner, being married, things of that nature.
So, at what age did you become, more aware of your sexuality and start to learn about it? And how did you learn about it? What were the avenues?
So when I was in, I want to say I was in middle school. Um, I so if y'all remember, y'all remember those cable boxes? Well, this is when I was in Alabama. We had these. So this is back when cable boxes were a thing, not what they have now, like these small cable boxes. And
Siren was
we were able
homeschooled,
to.
so she doesn't
Okay,
know. She don't know what you're talking about.
okay, that's cool. So all good, all good. So
Yeah, we
um,
didn't really get to watch
there was
TV.
these.
I'm like,
I got
cable
you.
boxes? What's that?
I got you.
Boxes
I
with
got you.
cables in them?
Absolutely. Oh, so there was these small boxes, and you could just flip channels. It was like 2-digit channels. Um, so like think about what you have now, like Comcast, and it's like a lot smaller and just a lot simpler. And there was I guess some technicians that kind of knew, that kind of hacked a couple of the boxes. So you paid them a certain amount of money, and they would give you a hacked box. It's kind of like what that's like the people like used to sell those fire sticks that had like all the channels and you can buy whatever. It's kind of like that,
Mm.
right? Some people just hack the system, and if you pay them a certain amount of money, um, they would give you uh, a box with all the features and stuff, because you have to pay a hefty monthly fee to get the options that you're getting with these boxes. And so I remember I went upstairs and nosy me stuck into my parents' room, and I just started flipping channels. I was like, oh, this is nice. And then I remember channel 52. I remember the channel. And I just remember there was it was these two women on the beach, very attractive women, both Caucasian, and they had one looked like she was bound to like a rock. They were like on this beach or cove or something like that. And the woman just started. The other woman, I guess it was like a play, like she was like tied up, right? And then the other one was like licking on her breast. They kiss each other, and then I was like, oh, this is interesting. And so I'm looking. This is different from what I've ever seen. I was like, oh man, like these are actual naked women, you know. Now, you know, I wasn't really, of course, I was just young and didn't know, but I was like, okay, well, I saw this, and then my body started reacting, and you know, my little guy started, you know, getting a little bigger, and so I was like, oh, this is very odd, right? But I didn't know because so I'm just like, oh, what is this I'm feeling? Then I just turned it off and like I got kind of spooked about it, you know. But I didn't want to tell my parents like, cause like, oh yeah, I just snuck in your room and watched a lesbian flick and my dick got hard, you know. That'd be kind of a odd conversation starter, you know.
The
And so
dinner
I kind
time
of just,
topic. What did you do today, son?
yeah, yeah, you know. So I just kind of just like just kept it to myself and just like I was like okay, but it felt good. So like you know when I could, I just stuck around, and they had other channels, but I think that's the first. I remember that's like kind of like the first. I think I was like maybe 14, maybe I want to say. Um, yeah, I was in my 14 maybe. I will say around 14 is when I kind of noticed that. And I just started every so often I would sneak in there and see what else they had. They had a very various amount of content. So
So
yeah,
that Baptist woman was getting her freaky on.
yeah, she was getting blessed.
She was getting blessed.
Yeah.
And so where did it develop from there? Like, you know, did you start like self exploration after that? Like, you know, how did you find out more? You know, beyond the channel 52.
So yeah, so I think this is when I was yeah, I think it's when I got to high school. Yeah, I was pretty late bloomer. I just remember that I want to say I was 16, maybe 17. I want to say maybe 16. And I remember that, you know, internet was growing at that time. And so, you know, there was the point age, the internet point age was growing. And so I was able to look at more. I didn't have to sneak into my parents' room as much. From there, I just started seeing these videos and I was typing up things and yeah, I would just start touching myself. I was like, oh, this feels good. But I never came, right? Because you know, I was like, because it was just a feeling that I got. And I was like, oh, what's going to happen? And once again, I'm oblivious to all this stuff, right? And so um, I remember I was in, you know, I was in weight training class one day. Um, and then a couple of my friends, we were talking, and I think you know how guys talk, man. They get on to sex and everything, and I think they were
That's
talking
how
about
girls
masturbation.
talk. I think it's just like this how people talk, but we act like, oh, that's a guy thing. And then over there, but my girls and I, like, we just as dirty. So yeah.
I'm learning a lot today.
Don't tell anyone.
Um, oh yeah, I knew
Secret.
y'all was nasty too. Yeah, y'all just more undercover. Y'all undercover about it, you know. So,
Some of us.
um, yeah, some of us, yeah. So, oh, so they was talking about masturbation. I think I chimed in and said, "Oh, hey, yeah, I masturbate sometimes, but I just stop." And it was like, "Why do you stop?" And I'm like, I don't know because." And they said, "Keep going, just keep going, you know, keep going." I was like, "When do I stop?" And they said, "You'll know." I said, "Okay." And so,
It's kind of like a Jack in the Box, right? That's what it makes me think of. It's
yeah,
like do 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 do
yeah,
do do do
you
do
know,
do 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 do,
yeah,
and you never know when it's gonna
that's
pop.
pretty much yeah. And
Pop.
then you have like you know like the water what do you call the hydrant, kind of like that, you know. Um, so I remember, so I was downstairs, you know, in my parents' basement, and um, I put on the porn. It was a hand job video. It was like 4 minutes, and I remember it was this woman. She was like in a black Kango hat, and um, she was just giving this guy. It just had her and the dick, and she was just stroking him, and so I was just you know, I was just imitating the stroke, you know, like the speed and the rhythm and all that jazz. And then I don't even think I finished the video. I can't. Yeah. So the video just finished, and then like as soon as he like, because like you can see like the guy like pulsating and stuff, and then the cum came out, and
Mm-hmm.
then like the scene of it was just so hot. I exploded. Now I think that's the first time I ever came. And let me tell you, I thought I blacked out. I probably did black out. Like I made a fucking mess, you know, like it was everywhere. So it was like it was on my hands, it was on my stomach. I'm like, good God. Like, and I'm looking at, it, I'm like, what just happened? I'm freaking out. I'm
Did you
like,
think you broke
what the?
it? You're like,
Yeah,
I
like
broke my dick. I heard several guys say stuff
yo,
like that. I thought I broke my
yeah.
dick.
I was like so scared. I was like, oh my God, like I gotta go to like now I gotta tell my parents and I probably gotta go to the ER and they're gonna say, oh, what were you doing? Oh well, I was just looking at a porn and I was jacking off and cum came on, this white stuff shot out my dick, because that's the thing I was thinking like, oh my God, I gotta go tell my parents, and they're gonna flip out. So I just remember going to the bathroom and just looking down and I'm just amazed at like this white stuff. I'm just like, what is this? But it felt good. I gotta give them that. Like it looked weird, but it felt great. And then from there, I got more the frequency. Yeah, I got more consistent with my orgasm. So
More
um
consistency with your workouts.
yeah, my workouts.
That's
Yeah,
funny how
man,
you
that
learned
right
about it in
hand was
weight training
working.
class. It's like, one kind of
Yeah,
workout led
like
to another.
yeah, pretty much. The two hand workout led to the one hand workout, and so got to get those pumps in.
So,
So
so how long
yeah,
before so you said that was around 16, and then
uh huh.
how long before you brought that interaction to, a partner?
Ah, yes, my first time. October 4th, 2002. I remember the day as well.
Man, I love you in
Um,
this numbers things. 52,
yeah, my numbers got
2002. Let's see.
sometimes,
I would have been
sometimes.
when was it? October what?
October 4th, 2004. I'm sorry, 2004.
Oh, okay. When you said
Because I was in
2002,
college. Yeah,
I was like
yeah,
October of 2002 is when I also lost my male virginity, my penetration virginity. So I was like,
yeah,
"Oh my goodness. We're
yeah,
virginity twins, same month,
yeah.
but
We're V twins. Yeah,
2004."
when the
Okay.
twins powers activate. Um, so
That's with my husband, sorry. That's that's a whole nother
yeah,
story. Okay, so
yeah,
October to 2004. Take
yeah,
us through
yeah,
that. How did
yeah.
that
So
come about? No pun
all right,
intended.
so yeah. So, that was this girl. So when I was 16, I used to work at the movie theater, and this girl used to show up every now and then, with her friend. And it's funny because I used to talk to her friend like I was attracted to her friend, but her friend would always like blow me off, right? But I would talk to both of them. So, anyways, fast forward, and I was starting my first year of junior college, and then I went to a pep rally for one of the schools that we played against. Um, and so I remember she showed up, and I'm like, we kind of recognized each other. Like, hey, how you doing? We kind of caught up, yada yada yada, and we chatted a bit. And I remember the day of the pet rally, like we were talking, and then like we kissed, and she's like, hey, tomorrow after the game, you want to come on? I'm like, yeah, sure, I ain't doing shit, So Uh, and again, I'm kind of oblivious to sex, right? Like I knew of it, but I didn't know, all the, I barely know how to put a condom on, pretty much at that point, right? Like I knew about pregnancy and
You
STDs,
didn't
but
practice
like,
on the banana in health class?
yeah, I didn't do no, no.
Yeah.
All health class was.
I still
I
don't know
don't
how to
think we
put a
talked
condom
about
on.
sex.
I throw it back at the
Yeah,
guy. You're like,
yeah. It's a skill. Like I have. It took me a while to learn it, but it's yeah. Pinch and pull down. Pinch and pull. So I go to a house and I'm just chilling I'm chilling on the couch. Her parents are not there. You know how these stories go. Um, so she says, hey, I'm gonna wash up real quick. I'm like, cool. So she comes out in a towel. Her hair is like almost a little wet, and she getting a towel. I'm like, oh shit.
See, that's why I say
And
women are trouble. Women are
yeah,
trouble.
she was a lot of trouble. Yeah,
She
so I'm
started
on the
it.
couch. Yeah, she started that shit for real. I'm thinking we're just gonna hang out and and just like talk about the fine things in life, like the Teletubbies or something. I don't know. Um, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know what the fuck's about to happen,
You were
man.
gonna talk about the finer things in life. Let me tell you.
Yeah, yeah. So we had a lot of conversating. And she got on top, like she got on top of me while I'm on the couch and we started kissing. And then she's like, follow me. I'm like, okay. So she took my hand and I got her from the couch and we walked into her room. And this is why I'm so glad I learned about condoms because I got naked. And of course, my dick is like, oh man, I'm about to, my dick is like, oh, you about to get pussy for the first time. Let's do it, man. My dick was ready. So, I actually had I gave her like 4 pumps unprotected, right? And I am glad I learned about condoms because my head, I'm glad that my head, the top of my head had more willpower than the bottom because in my head I was like, all right, pregnancy, STDs, pull out, abort mission, right? And so,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, she was like, oh, I'm like, hey, I gotta put a condom on. She was like, oh, it feels so good, just a few more pumps, just a few more pumps. Now, in that moment, I had a decision to make. I was like, give her a few more pumps unprotected and have some consequences later, possibly, or put a condom on. My head, oh my God, thank my head. Um, so I went ahead, took it out and put a condom on, but at that time I really didn't know how to put a condom on. And it was a lifestyle condom. So if you know anything about lifestyle condoms, they are growth restricted. They are meant for a certain size of men. I'm not saying I'm a monster, but lifestyle condoms were very uncomfortable for me. And so my monster turned into I went from Godzilla to Monsters Inc. pretty much. Um, so it was like a little, it's like half of it. But I was like, all right, you know what? I'm in this thing. I'm gonna work what I got. And it felt, everything was good. But then she got on top, right? And I was so nervous, right? And she was riding me, and my dick was hard. But here I am on the half stump, and I'm just nervous, and I can't stop laughing, right? And because I'm like nervous. I'm like super nervous. Like, well, it's the first time I'm having sex. What do I do? I hope I'm doing this right, And so to stop from like shaking and getting anxiety and everything, I'm just laughing, right? And all of a sudden she stops. She's on top of me and she stops. She was like, do you want to just do this another time? I'm like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like my head is, this is fun, but like my head's not in for some reason, right? I didn't want to tell her, but eventually I ended up telling her, like, I got my clothes back on, and she got her stuff. She looked a little upset, so, of course. And I told her, I was like, hey, I got to tell you something. Well, she told me later, she was like, I thought she was going to tell me like you had HIV or STD or something like that, right? Because she was like, what is it? Like she looked all worried. And I was like, well, you took my virginity. And she said, what?
Oh.
I said, yeah, that was the first time I've ever had sex. And she's like, oh, okay. That's great. Like I don't know. Well, like, what do you say in that situation? I don't know, right? So it was kind of awkward. I got the awkward hug and like, hey, thanks. Hope we see each other again. Which of course that didn't happen. But I remember there was an apartment party at the dorms that night, and so I still had time, and I just drove by there because I was like 10 minutes away. And I drove by there, and there was some friends that I went to school with, and some guys from college. And I remember I walked in, and there was people hanging out, drinking, all that jazz. And I went to my boys, and I was like, "Hey, I lost my virginity like 30 minutes ago." And it's so funny the reactions. The guys were like, "Oh shit! You what? Oh shit! Hell yeah! Get him a drink. Get him a drink. That's my boy. They all, and the women are like, okay, that's cool, whatever. It's so funny, like the different reactions, right? Because they're like, oh man, he lost his virginity. Oh yeah, and then the women here and they're just like rolling their eyes, like, oh whatever, right? It's just so interesting hearing, just seeing the different reactions, right? And um, so I go ahead and I get, they give me a drink. And I feel like they're gonna hoist me in the air and put like a crown on my head. They're like, "Oh man, you become a man now. You
And
you
how
been
old were
you
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 again?
you step into manhood."
How old was
I
this?
was 18 at the
Okay.
time. Yeah, I was 18, and so yeah, like I felt like I've been initiated into the club or to like the man society. I felt like they were gonna put me on their shoulders and like hoist me in the air, and you know they're gonna like knight me or something like that. I don't know, right? So
That's awesome.
um yeah, and so like
I can hear
but
the
I would
excitement in
tell
your
you,
voice.
oh yeah, man, it was great. Yeah, it was. I was like, oh, this is the best day of my life. Like, I need to lose my virginity more often. Too bad I can only do it once. Um, so, but, um, but after that, I don't know if other guys, Socrates, you might, you might, I don't know if you might be familiar with this, but as soon as I lost my virginity, it's like a signal went out to like all the women in the area because every week, and I played on the basketball team, and we would go out to these bars, these clubs, like after practice or whatnot. And I don't know what it was, but after I lost my virginity, like it's like these women knew that, oh my God, Asian lost my virginity. I'm next, right?
Mm.
And back then, I didn't have any game, right? I didn't know how to talk to women. I
Hold
barely
on,
know how to
hold on,
talk to
hold on,
women,
hold
right?
on. Ladies, don't listen to this dude. This dude is 6 something tall. He's a good looking brother. He didn't need no game. So, mm-mm,
Listen,
mm-mm,
listen.
mm-mm,
I am glad that I had
mm-mm.
that because my game was terrible. It's still terrible, but it's a little better than it was, right? I'm just saying that I was on a basketball team, I was athletic looking, like I had the pretty privilege was advantageous at the time, because I'm talking about women will come up, I'm dancing, and women will come up to me and dance with me. All of a sudden, they're kissing me, and I didn't even have a place to stay. I stayed at my parents' house still. I didn't stay on the dorms because I was close to my parents' house. So I'm there having sex in the car. I'm going to that place having sex. I'm calling on my boys like, hey, I need to use your crib for a minute. I'm having sex everywhere else except at my own place that I don't have, right? And I like you know, I'm over here just like I'm talking about every week, man. I'm just not, it's like bowling pins. I'm just lining up and knocking them down. Like I don't know. It just it was so crazy to me how I lose my virginity and then like after that like they just came out the woodworks and I'm just yeah, that was a very glad I played basketball because that was a lot of work. It's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
work that happened in between those early college years. Um, so that's kind of how I learned.
Practice makes
But I,
perfect,
I
right?
will I will say this. I will say this though, because and looking back now, because a lot of because I was pretty oblivious to like sex and warming up and foreplay and everything. A lot of my sexual experience was gained from sexual knowledge was gained from porn, and we know how over dramatic and fake porn is. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking like, oh, I'm just beating the pussy up, that'll And these girls, they think I think they like it, but I don't get a call back, or I'm over here just having sex with them, and I go to the next girl or something like that, and I don't know, right? This is why I'm so oblivious to like people's feel. I'm like oblivious to people's feelings because I'm just in this rush of just sex and porn and everything that I'm not understanding like the women's feeling like aftercare. I didn't know about aftercare until a long time. Like I saw dating an older woman about aftercare because typically like I would have sex and then I would be like, hey, thanks, and I get up and leave. some girls I would sleep over,
That's why you weren't getting the
but
call back there, Mr. BlackBerry.
yeah, so knowing now, I understand like, oh, right,
You sound
I
like me
understand
in
now,
my. You
like,
sound like me though in my whole phase, like being single before Mr. Socrates here. I would always go to the guy's house, and then we would do the damn thing, and then I would high five him and be like, "See you later." And he's like, "You don't want to snuggle or anything," and I'm like, "No, I want to go home and go to bed." So
yeah,
I was
I
like
busted,
the
I
I was
busted a
like
nut, like
I
I'm
was
good,
like the woman version of that. I was like, and I would always go to their house because if they came to mine, I was trying to get them to get out so that I could go to sleep because I didn't like sleeping with people I didn't know. I just liked to have sex with people I didn't know.
Yeah, it's like the fuck, like I can't have a girlfriend, like I got a game no more, like what the hell, I can't sleep over, like 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 I ain't got time for this, like
Ain't nobody got
but
time for that.
looking back at it, yeah, man, but looking back at it now, I'm like, yeah, that was kind of shitty because people have feelings and people get hurt because they think you're just like dumping them. But like, I was super ignorant, I'm just thinking, oh shit, I'm just having sex. Cause I'm just having so much sex. I'm just like, I ain't got time to chill and cuddle. Like there's another girl texting me, hey, what you doing tomorrow? Like I attribute that to like, being on a basketball team, having the exposure. And plus like, when you're in college, you see all these new people and college is just like depending on what college you go to, it's just a combination of just people and different cultures and different, experiences. And so I'm like, to me, I'm like, oh, I'm getting so much sex. Like, what, I'm not gonna slow down. This is great. This is the life. I'm playing basketball. I'm going to college. Um, I'm having lots of sex. Like, what, this is the life right here.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back at it now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, a lot of that sex was just like, if I could do it over, I would have like less. I would have more sex, but with like less partners because a lot of that shit, it was very. I would say it was like empty in a way
Mm-hmm.
because like I'm having sex and I'm going home. I'm just like, oh well, this kind of,
Yeah.
so it
Kind of
kind of feels like, yeah,
lonely.
I'm having sex. Yes, it's lonely. Like
It was
I'm in the
fun
bed by
though, right?
myself. I'm just like,
It
yeah,
was
it was
fun.
fun. Yeah, it was a fun time. But like and as I got older, I'm like, that's why like I'm not hoeing out as much as I did. Because, like, it was just a rush of it, like, this is brand new. I'm having sex every week, like, with
Right.
different women. This is, like, the endorphins just keep going. I like, my, these chemicals just are flooding my brain, and this is great. I'm seeing naked women, and we're just fucking, and then I go home, and
It's
I
a
do it
great
all over
time.
again the next day.
And
Yeah,
at what
so,
point too did you, I know that you're a dancer and you talked about in the other interview how you realized that all of that was your lack of just like physical connection. And so you
uh-huh,
tell us about bringing in dance to create that, well, not create, to fulfill that need for physical connection without
yep,
just having to have sex all the time. Talk to us about that because I thought that was such a cool part of your journey.
yeah. Yeah, so, I really didn't get into dance until like I danced, but I didn't really get into like salsa, bachata, kizomba, Brazilian zouk. I did a little West Coast swing. I started with salsa, and I didn't really get into it until I moved to Tennessee. So that was probably late, in my late 20s. I want to say, oh, probably early 30s, when I moved to Tennessee. Um, and from there, when I learned salsa, it was now at the very beginning. I was thinking because you get into bachata, it's a little sensual, it's close. Salsa is more like energetic and more open. Of course, if you do like salsa romantica, you can get sensual, but bachata was very close and I'm like that feeling on me, that touching on my neck, and I'm like, oh wow, we are gonna fuck on this dance floor right now, right? Just because, but this is because like I was new to the dance and wasn't aware of like of how it went. I'm just like, oh snap, because I'm seeing these videos, and I remember this girl that because I talked to this girl about this that was in the scene, and she showed me this video of this black guy and this Latin woman, and they were dancing at the pool. The guy was a good looking guy. The girl was sexy as hell. And I remember they are just dancing, and they're kind of just like, you see it, and I'm just like, man, my dick was getting hard watching. I'm just like, damn, this is some sexy shit. But then the song ended, and they just hugged each other, and they walked away. And I'm like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? Like, are they going to go to the room? Like, my head is like, how does this happen? She's like, yeah, that's sensual bachata right there. She's like, and I'm so confused. 'Cause I'm just like, they just had such a it looked to me like a sexual moment where just they're touching on each other and they're looking at each other all sexy, and then the song ends and then poof, it's gone. I'm like, what kind of superpower is this? So but they're both instructors and they've been doing it for a long time. So they are, I guess, accustomed to the feelings and the dance style, and they're just, to them it's dancing, right? So when people outside are looking in, they think, oh, these people are probably going to have sex after they dance. No, they're just connected within the moment. And but after the dance, they disconnect, thank each other, and they go to somebody else, and they just repeat the process.
Socrates has a question for
But
you.
yes, sir.
Break in.
Actually, it wasn't a question. I was gonna say a few things.
Well, you raised
if
your
you're cool
hand,
with
so,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
So for Siren of Freedom's audience, I don't say this a lot, but I'm actually part Latino and part Puerto Rican, and I grew up with the culture of salsa and Afro Latino music. And I'm gonna tell you, one, bachata, merengue, cumbia, reggaeton, and even Peruvian criollo, all of that stems back to African beats. All of those are African styles. Take every single one of them. And if you don't believe me, look up what Carlos Santana said about it. But all of those things go back to the African sensuality and spirituality of mating and romance and the dance between male and female. But what I love about it is I'm a salsa dancer as well, and you can go up to a woman. I speak Spanish, but you don't have to. You can go up to a woman that doesn't even speak English. Put your hand out. If she accepts your hand, that means she's accepting the dance with you. If she says no, it's almost always the most respectful, kindest, decline you ever get. You can dance in any one of those styles, and it can be sensual and passionate. My favorite is Kizomba. Oh, Kizomba, I'm like, oh my goodness. Kizomba, I think.
Yeah, Kizomba's my thing, man.
Oh my goodness.
That's my jam.
Ooh. And you can do that. You guys can dance the most sensual dance. And like you said, sit her down, and you had never known her name, and you'll never see her again, and you have the most chemistry ever. And I've done that so many times, and it's just so beautiful. But I do want to add a little something differently. I have been in the industry. I own the salsa club, and I had salsa instructors. They be getting down afterwards. It's not most of them don't.
Oh yeah,
most of them don't. But trust me, I know some instructors that had been kicked out because they was impregnating too many of the women taking the classes. So they ain't all innocent.
You never know where the journey of freedom is going to lead here.
So trust me, I go to these dance festivals that are held in hotels. I mean, you combine sensual dancing in hotels and drugs and alcohol, shit goes down. So I'm yes, there's a sensual component where they leave, but they some people take it a little further. Doesn't always happen, but it does happen. So it ain't all flowers and unicorns. There's some there's some freaky freaks down there. So but to your point about the physical connection, I want to touch on that. So what I was experiencing that, because as I got older, I was like, okay, I want a little bit more connection. Like, I don't want to have just empty sex, right? Because to me, and as a guy, the only way a lot of guys get physical connection is through sex, right?
Right. And
Like,
that's what you were talking about. Another
so,
one is like the importance
r-
of that men still need that physical connection, and
right.
that's why, maybe more of them are after it versus like if we just, even just touched a man's arm, when we're speaking to him or just giving your friends hugs, that men just
Yeah,
need that physical connection just as much as women do.
yeah. Because typically, I mean, it in other countries it's different, right? I mean, you can see like guys like hugging each other, holding hands and everything, and it's okay. In America, it's kind of look suspect. It's sassy, or you know, kind of seen as gay or something if boys are like hugging each other and stuff. So there's a lot of
Stigmatism.
guys stigmatism around it. Yeah, correct. So a lot of guys are just missing, especially tough for people who weren't hugged or didn't have that connection with their parents, right? If they didn't get hugged or they didn't get the touch that some other kids got, right? And so now they're touch starved. And so what I noticed is that in a dance community, you're able to get this connection, you're able to get your touch cup filled
Very much
without
so.
necessarily having to date someone,
Yep. Yep.
So I can go and I can dance for hours and have my cup full and then go home like, oh, I'm good, right? I don't have to ask them out on a date. I don't have to ask them to a room or back to my place. I can go and dance, and like, and the beauty of dance, like Socrates pointed out, is that I people can go in there and not say a word the whole time. I can go to a foreign country and not know a lick of the verbiage, right, or the words, and I can dance all night and have a great time because it's just a communication of dance, right? Sticking out your hand for an invitation to dance and dancing, and then like leading them back to their chair or giving them a hug, giving them a smile. So you can enjoy yourself. It's like one of the few hobbies where you don't even have to know the person's name, where they come from, the language they speak, and you can have a dance between the two, like you gone through like a whole marriage, right? It's just it's wild when you think about it. I don't know many other, and then and then dance ends, and then that's it, right? It's like you have this whole journey during a dance, and then the dance ends, and then you end the journey, and then you start that journey with somebody else, and it's I can't think of any other like hobby or not off the top of my head where you can do that, and then you just go home, you know,
Right.
and
And it's just as much
your cup is
for,
full and
the
go.
women too. On that hand too is like a lot of people it's a very freeing space because there's no obligation. It's
Yes,
intimate, you're getting that touch cup filled, but you're not having sex, right? So you get to
right,
have that connection with someone without, feeling like, because a lot of women they feel like they owe men something,
yeah,
or they need more after sex. But with that dance, like you said, there's a beginning, a middle, and then a beautiful ending, and then it's just thank you so
correct.
much and see you later.
Hmm.
And then if you see that dance partner again, great. But if you don't, there's no loose ends
Yeah,
really to tie up.
it's a good memory to
So
have. Yeah.
I like that.
And there's also some dances that because I spoke to some women about what they enjoy, and depending on the dance, a lot of them, it allows them for expression. Of course, it depends on the partner, but a lot these some of these dances allow them to express their sexuality in a way, or their sensuality,
Mm-hmm.
however they want to phrase it, and it gives them the freedom, because in society we live in a that puritanical, super religious, keep your clothes on, don't twerk, don't do none of that stuff in public. But in dance, for certain dances, you're allowed to do that and just be free without judgment, for the most part. And just gives them the freedom to just allow themselves to express themselves in a non-judgmental space. and it's like a freeing. It's just like a freeing feeling, I suppose. So it's great for both sides, and for the most part, yeah, it's very respectful. People, there's a lot of consent. Of course, you do have your bad apples, unfortunately, but every hobby or community has something like that. And people try their best to weed them out. But for the majority, I mean, it's a fun, safe, consentful, respectful environment to be in and express yourself.
I love it. So that was fun. I loved hearing that virginity story. I think almost everyone on the different, interviews we've talked about, what point they lost their virginity in that experience. So it's cool to hear some fun stories. We've had some that were like, or like mine was like, 17 seconds on a wedding night, or other people, it wasn't a consensual experience. So it's
Oh
really
yeah,
it's
yeah.
fun to
You get
hear some fun stories. And so yeah, if you have any other guy friends that want to share on the podcast, we want this to be a space for men and women. So we appreciate you coming on here today, and we'll see you on the other side.
yeah. Once again, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. I appreciate y'all allowing me to be on this podcast and share my story. And yeah, once again, thanks a lot. Appreciate y'all.
All right. Thank you, BlackBerry. Thank you so
Mm.
much for listening today. We hope this podcast has been an encouragement to you. You can find us on our website, thesirenoffreedom.com, and also on social media and Patreon under the Siren of Freedom podcast. Your support is what helps us continue to sound the alarm of freedom.